How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it.
My name is Jonathan Gillum.
And this is The Experts. This is Jonathan Gillum, and this is The Experts on Facebook Live, Twitter, and YouTube. The robot YouTube. There is nothing on YouTube. But it's good to be back on here. I'll turn the music down a little bit so you can hear me. Anyway, good to be back. Feeling a little bit better today. Every day is getting better. But this flu is no joke. As I explained yesterday, somebody who is a shared friend actually passed away from the flu yesterday. Amazing stuff. So we need to be very cognizant of how we feel, and if you're feeling any of this stuff, go get the Tamiflu as quickly as possible. I'll continue to talk about this. But we're going to talk a little bit about this The memo this, memo that. Let's talk about the reality of what we've learned just in the past couple hours. Let's do it. So as the headline says here on foxnews.com, I'll put this up here. It says, memo versus memo. I know it's kind of hard to read. This camera doesn't really focus on it. But now the Democrats want to release their version of a memo. And I can only imagine what this version of the memo is going to be. But listen, folks, you may be liberal watching this right now. You may be a troll. Or somebody's not a troll over on Twitter. You may just be somebody who's very liberal. You need to wake up, because here's the deal, folks. I'm going to put my glasses back on. I had these on earlier at Newsmax. They laughed at me, but these are my reading glasses so I can see things a little bit better, so I can see what you guys are saying on here. We don't need another memo, all right? We've got enough proof as there is, even without a memo. We've got enough proof showing that the higher-ups, the senior executive service people, that's these higher-up deputy directors and deputy assistant directors, we see that there is something going on, okay? In a court of law, remember this, folks, in a court of law, if this was a court case and the FBI and the DOJ were laying out a case against President Trump that he had colluded with the Russians, yada, 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 and it came out from the defense that the prosecution had manufactured evidence, that case would be over that fast. It would be stopped in a second, because as soon as the court realizes that evidence was manufactured, it's done. So why is it when we have more than enough evidence showing that, and as Scott Eulinger said today when we were on Newsmax together, and it was awesome being a guest with Scott Eulinger instead of interviewing him, we're going to be talking about this every night probably, because this is reality. You know how the news spins stuff constantly, like when the Malaysian plane disappeared. They didn't know anything after day 1 more than they did day 40, but they spun it like, oh my gosh, breaking news every night. Well, this really is breaking news, because as we have learned just since the memo was released, I never knew that Steele, the guy who was responsible for drafting the memo, I did not know until the memo came out that he was an FBI source, a paid FBI source. And what does that mean? It means that he was being handled by the FBI. And as I said today, when we were on Newsmax, that when the FBI is handling a source, if they're nefarious in nature, they can turn around and make that source look like a chump or a champion. And so had this dossier never been discovered to be fake, and had the news outlets like BuzzFeed and Yahoo that worked in conjunction with Steele and with the DNC to put out information that would give the dossier credibility, all this stuff is beyond. I can't believe that this actually took place. I mean, this is so organized crime ridden, right? Well, if that had never been discovered, the FBI, because Steele was their source, could have made him look like champion of all people. That he is always been an incredible source, and his information is always right on. And so they could have gone, and when it was come time to do whatever, they could have said, this guy Steele is the best of the best. But that's not the way it worked out now, is it? Truth actually came out. And so what we see is that the FBI then terminated its relationship with Steele as a source, saying that he was not reliable or this or that. And this is after they had worked with him for a long period of time as a reliable source. So we don't need another memo from the Democratic Party. We really didn't even tell you the truth. We didn't need this memo, because everything that came out in the memo, with the exception of that, of him being a source, is stuff that people who were in the know were already speculating was happening anyway. I wrote an article, and if you want to find it, it's you can look my name up on the Daily Caller last December. In fact, let me pull that up here real quick. I'm going to read part of that for you. Remember, this is December 2016. Let's see if it comes up here. Articles by Jonathan T. Gillum on the Daily Caller. Let's see here. Let's just go here and stand by 1 second. Nope, we don't need that one. We need the Daily Caller. Let's see here. Stand by. That's muckrack, which is a bunch of crap. All right, here we go. There I is. Okay. Democrats are addicted to ludicrous Russia scapegoating. That was the name of the article. And in the article, basically, this is what I said. I say, throughout history, I'm not going to read the entire article. I guess I could, but I'm not going to. Throughout history, sources have been used to carry out dangerous, nefarious missions for intelligence operatives, law enforcement agencies, and even criminal enterprises. Also known as an agent in the intelligence world, these individuals are recruited to do any number of operations, including gun buys, drug deals, extortions, murders, and cybercrimes. Criminals and intelligence operatives also use sources to create false trails of evidence in order to mislead investigations away from the employer of the source. Simply put, using a source ensures a large degree of separation between a criminal's actions and the individuals and/or organizations that hire them. This ensures minimal to no connection and creates a backstop that leads away from the employer of the source. I wrote this. I'm going to pat myself on the back. This was released. I actually wrote it. And I have it in my, so you'll know I'm not lying. I actually wrote this back in November of 2016, but I didn't give it to the Daily Caller until March of 2017. So it was a year ago. I gave this to them because I wanted to sit on it and see where it actually developed. And I mean, did I not call it? You don't just see evidence pop up wherever you need it in an investigation. Like when I'm running an investigation against a bad guy, I don't just sit back and go, damn, I wish somebody would get shot by the bad guy, and then when the cops roll up, they say, as in their dying breath, it was Harry that did it. You know, that's never going to happen unless, you know, we manufacture that evidence. We tell some guy where, you know, when the cops get here, before you die, you better say Harry did it, or else we're going to go after your family if we're nefarious people. You know what I'm saying? That would be entrapment. So again, entrapment against Harry. So do you see, folks, when I was talking about a source, and it may not be everything may not have come out because of this source Steele, but the reality is he is a central figure in this that could have been handled by the DNC and, which is most important for you to realize, the people in the FBI. You see, they could have had taken part in creating the dossier, which nobody's really talking about. So let me go on, and I want to read a little bit of this, and I want you to think about this as I'm talking about it, right? For example, the FBI can often get information otherwise impossible to obtain by convincing a person with access to criminal associates to flip and work as a government source. The sources are then tasked with infiltrating criminal organizations, listening to and or recording conversations about illegal activity, acquiring stolen or illegal goods, and even intruding on our enemies through cyber activities. With this concept of effective source tasking in mind, consider the Democratic Party's representative accusations of Russia meddling in all things political and their accusations targeting Attorney General Sessions speaking to Russian ambassador. This was back then. It may not be as clear of a picture as you think. So none of this stuff that the FBI and the DNC and the dossier and all these things about Russians this and Russians that, it's never been as clear as they said it was. And that's the way sources are used. They're used to give an appearance of clarity when in fact correct. I mean, if you're using a source for the right reason, it literally says, we say, okay, we know this person's selling guns, so we're going to use a source to buy a gun from this person. And as soon as that source buys the gun from that person, well, then we can go to court and say, our source bought a gun from this person. All right. That's the legal way that you use a source. But in entrapment, it's completely different. We can have the source go out and manufacture evidence for us by taking this guy and convincing him to do something that he doesn't want to do and saying, listen, come on, just this one time, just sell a gun for me. I need you to do it. Can you just do this for me, please? And the guy says, no, I don't want to do it. Listen, I'm going to give you, I'm going to take care of your mom who's really sick if you just do this for me once. And the guy says finally, okay, I'll just give me the gun. And he goes out and sells it. And then the FBI comes in and arrests him. And then what we tell, if we were nefarious, we'd tell the court, our source bought a gun from the bad guy. And the court's not going to know the difference, no matter what the guy says, because criminals always have an excuse. So it would be easy to say, oh, that's just him saying that, we were not going to pay for his mother's, whatever. And so you see how this is working? When you have a source involved, the source can either give you a straight arrow to the bad guy to catch them doing something, or they can be utilized to manufacture the evidence, to manufacture the scenario. That's called entrapment. And I believe that there's plenty of evidence for conviction, there's no doubt, but there's definitely plenty of evidence for the president to start an investigation and go after these people. As I've said over and over again, when Lois Lerner lost her emails, it was the exact same tactic as when Hillary Clinton lost her emails, as when the FBI and the DOJ lost their emails or lost their texts. You see, when you see similar tactics, techniques, and procedures being carried out by these different executives in these different agencies, you have to stop and say there's something there. So we don't need another memo. The evidence is already there. I quite frankly don't care what the Democrat Party has to say. I don't care. I'm going to tell you, it has nothing to do with a love affair of the RNC. There is no love affair with the RNC. The GOP, as far as I'm concerned, is on even playing grounds with the DNC when it comes to nefarious behavior. But the level at which the DNC has gone to now and lying to the American people and orchestrating this entire event, I'm not interested in what they have to say. If I was a judge and this was them coming in saying, we have this memo for this case, I would say, you have no ground to stand on. And quite frankly, we don't need your memo. Even if the Republicans lied in their memo, it doesn't matter. There's enough evidence here that the president should be able to get, if you want to call it special counsel, whatever you want to call it. I think we should forget about these special counsels. I don't know where that stuff began, quite frankly, and when we started using these special counsels. What we need is for good, hardworking FBI agents to go in and start clearing these places out and doing their job of investigating government. We can't count on the OIGs, the Officer Inspector General. We don't know how political they are. We just don't know it, so they can't be involved. We can't count on the upper head shed of the FBI. We don't know, so we can't count on them. And the president would not want to be involved in handling this, but what he should do is get a team of investigators, empower them with the authority to go in and systematically look at every single agency, look for evidence of them repeating these tactics, techniques, and procedures over and over again, whether their ideologies are the same, whether they subscribe to the same ideologies, where they've been caught up in the same circumstances. Like, for instance, when people were being unmasked back last year, that involved the FBI, the DOJ, the State Department, and the DOD that we know of, and probably the CIA. So that means all of them have to be looked at. And I think heads should roll. heads should roll in this case, and there should be a complete revamping of the way the upper echelons of these agencies work. You should have to work your way through and be promoted to the top. There should be complete overwatch. If you screw up this much, whereas a new agent could screw up this much, if you're at the top, you screw up that much, you're gone. The overwatch should be that much. There should be no bonuses. You don't get bonuses in government work. You get promoted, you get a certain amount of money, you do your freaking job. Look, if you feel as though you're entitled to this much money, let me put this thing down here, to this much money because that's how much more they get paid in the civilian world, then guess what? Go to the civilian world. Go there and try to make that. I'm here to tell you, leaving the civilian world, it ain't easy. You may get that cush job. You may be that one person who gets out and gets that cush job. Otherwise, you're going to be working your ass off to make that money. I know. I do it every day. And so these bonuses to try and keep these, I'm using a lot of the air quotes, to keep these people employed by the FBI. What? I know agents that have worked on certain squads for 20, 30 years. They never got special bonuses. They showed up every day and did the job because they swore an oath to the Constitution and because they know that really bad people are out there and they have to do their job to protect the citizenry from those bad people. All right? Those are the people that should be running the FBI, not these pompous, arrogant asses who insist on having $50,000 bonuses that are paid just as much so they don't leave, as though the FBI would just fall completely apart. Forget that crap. What we need is a complete revamping of the system. And right now, I believe this is the biggest test that this president would ever face, and he could come out completely triumphant if he did this. He needs to take a step back. He needs to take a step back, and he needs to put an investigative team in and start dismantling these deep state pockets in all these agencies. It's easy. You take down one, it's going to be repetitive in all of them because you're going to be able to see that who works with who. Once you get the emails, once you get all this stuff, you're right, Richard, I am atypical. So that's what I feel should happen. I don't feel like we need another memo being released. I think Adam Schiff should look. Here's another thing that happens. We go through these and we start seeing where things have where these deep pockets of the deep state are at, and we see where people like Adam Schiff has obstructed justice in order to keep those people protected. Then he should go right with them to jail. Same thing with Nancy Pelosi and the rest of them. So, that's the way I feel about that. The other thing is, as Richard also says, I think that we should get Sessions out of there. Sessions is another deep state person. I don't care how many people say how great he is, how nice he is. Nobody. Well, look, here's the other thing, okay? Here's an agency. Here's the president, right? Now, you would think that a political appointee to oversee an agency would be right here in the middle, okay? And that political appointee would be the go-between between the president and the agency itself. But that's not what happens. They take the political appointee and they put them like this, right? And so now they build these relationships with these senior executive people, and they manipulate the system for the political gain of whoever's in office. There is no more corrupt system than that. That must stop. So the president, okay, political appointees, I really still don't understand why we need them. You have the head of an agency, which the head of an agency should rise up through the ranks, not like Christopher Wray, who's not like James Comey or Robert Mueller. Never, ever been agents. Never been agents. Always worked for the DOJ, and they secrete themselves over there, and now they're in charge of the FBI. No more of that. Those are political appointees. What we need are hardcore agents that have worked their way up through the ranks because of what they did, not the boxes that they checked. Because they were real agents. They know the upside and the downside of the Bureau. And those people should be promoted. And when they get to the top, whoever's at the top reports to the president and gives him the information he needs, but keeps a distant relationship from the president. That doesn't need to exist. Imagine in a business if you had a CEO whose job it was to run a company, and he was constantly sticking his nose into the different heads that were running the different operations within that company and saying, no, I think we should do it this way. No, I think we should do it this way. Look, if you have somebody who does that and they don't have a good vision on the reality of what that company needs, that company will falter. There's not many Steve Jobs out there that can do that. And in the case of Steve Jobs, you had maybe 5 different pieces of equipment that they were manufacturing. Flu be gone. So, one thing, Richard, you're just throwing great things out there. Nunez appears to have guts. I agree with that. Who I'm completely not surprised, but I'm glad he's out of the way, but I wish he would shut his mouth and go away, is Trey Gowdy. Never was a fan of Trey Gowdy. Never liked how everybody was like, oh, Trey Gowdy should be Attorney General. Trey Gowdy is just as deep state as the rest of them. And Trey Gowdy turns around and says something as stupid as he does about how this Russia investigation would be happening even if the dossier wasn't there. Well, yeah, he's right. It still would be happening because the Democrat Party insists on continuing this nefarious investigation and creating and entrapping the president. So, yeah, that would be the case. So I don't know what he meant by that. It would be great if he would explain it. Otherwise, I'm just going to assume that he is cozying up to the deep state, which wouldn't be too surprising considering that he didn't do jack crap when it came time to interview Hillary Clinton when she was in front of him. Listen, I talked about this a lot on this show, how these congressmen and senators will go and they will hem and haw and say all this stuff. Jason Chaffetz was one of the best. Marco Rubio does it great. Ted Cruz himself. Look, I'm pointing out Republicans there, but so does Nancy Pelosi and almost every single. Anthony Weiner was one of the best people about this. Oh my gosh, this is huge. We're going to go and I'm going to write a subpoena and we're going to go after them. And then they do nothing. They do nothing. Trey Gowdy was a big fat zero. He came in, he made people think this guy's going to do something. He did nothing. Be gone, Trey. Be gone. Go make your money and keep your mouth shut about what's going on here because ultimately you wouldn't have done anything to fix it anyway. Maybe you can get a good haircut while you're out there in the civilian world. Oh, somebody wants to say hi. He tried to run away. There he is, folks. Yep. He stood by me the whole time I've had the flu. Well, you kind of had no choice, really, right? All right. Good night. Him, not me. Get out of here. You bother me, dog. All right, let's see here. Anybody else got anything? I'm going to cut this a little short just because I'm still not feeling good. What do you think about the hair? Slowly growing out. As long as I look at the camera from this direction, you don't see my skin yarmulke. All right. That's about it. There's going to be more to come out. I didn't get the conclusion of anything tonight, but everybody should think about this. I wish that the president would be seeing these things and would be doing. Like, he has the opportunity of a lifetime. I mean, he's done so much stuff that no president has ever done, not at least in recent history. He could change the face of government and wipe out the leaps and strides that the communist left and this deep state has taken over the past 30, 40 years. He could wipe it out if he just right now said, and no more of this Donald Trump Jr. coming out saying that this is McCarthyism. Bullcrap, this is not McCarthyism. McCarthy was actually onto something when he did what. Did he do it right? Probably not. But was he understanding, identifying a real threat? Yes. Communism. This isn't McCarthyism. All right, the president is a manufactured enemy that they've tried to make sound like he's out to get the country. That's manufactured by the left. What this president needs to do, and it would be the best thing that could ever happen for liberals, conservatives, gay, straight, black, white, women, men, everybody, is if he said right now, I don't care if I get reelected, we are going to fix this government right now. This is going to stop. And if he announced a special investigative team to go in and start systematically dismantling these higher ups who tend to work together instead of what's for the country, revamping the way that these people are promoted, revamping the way that political appointees are used, and changing that forever, this country will be back on track. I can guarantee you this country will be back on track. And everything would change. Immigration would change, because we'd get rid of those people in the State Department who hem and haw over this and that and just say, I want subject matter experts. I want people at the top of the State Department that know exactly where the threat is and how we defend against bad immigration policies. How do we fix these? What do we need to change? That's what needs to happen. So, if the president did that right now, if he made a stand right now and said, I am going to fix government, I'm going to put that priority over being reelected, you know what? He'd get reelected. He'd get reelected. There's not been a time in history where a president has been able is at the point where he is right now, where he can reach in and change this stuff. And term limits can come as well. I'm just looking at what you all are writing. All right. I think that's about it. I'm going to jump off here, walk my dog, try not to get myself overheated. Again, if you feel like you're getting the flu, go to the doctor. Go get Tamiflu, go get whatever you got to get, and get this stuff under control. That's about it. Anybody got anything? All right. 3 things before we go. First, this book is falling on the Amazon bestseller list. That cannot happen. The CQRF must step up and must start hammering it out. If you're watching this show right now, you must continue to pump this book up. Every day you should be tweeting about it. Every day you should be putting something on Facebook about it. Every single day you should tell at least 5 people about this book. Listen, this is the way we're going to sell the book. Forget about Fox and Friends, and forget about CNN in the mornings. And, I got my radio stuff that I do, and I've got you for word of mouth. There right now, we don't know how many people are actually watching this show, because you can't trust Twitter or Facebook. You can't trust YouTube either to skew the numbers. I don't know how many people are watching this show, but I can guarantee it's hundreds. And by the time we get through, it's going to be thousands. If each one of you goes and tells 5 people about this book every day this week, think about it. If you do that, it's going to be 25 people. And then if those people get the book and they're excited about it, they're going to tell people. See, I'm getting excited about it. This book, I can guarantee you, if people read this book, there's going to be a certain group of people that aren't going to like it. They're just not. And most of those people are, you know, they have been in the government. Some of them have been in the government. They're going to be leftists, or they're going to be people that actually did what I've done, and they hate the fact that I wrote this book and they didn't. So that's where the majority of these, the few that we have bad reviews have come from. But the cops, the military people that don't have a chip or an ego, that have read this and they said, this is what the American people need. I'm telling you, when people read through this, if you've read it, you know what I'm talking about. It will change not only the way you look at your life, but it will also change the way you perceive the way bad people think. So your awareness will be different. When you look at the way these people have cultivated the upper echelon of all these agencies and the political appointees, and the way that they've manufactured evidence and done all these different things, once you're aware of how bad people think, the way bad people target, the way bad people plan and execute missions, you'll be able to see right through what these people are doing. This book, even though it's about the art of awareness and attack survival, and you would think that has to do with security, I'm planting a seed in you that allows you to use that same thought process to figure out the reality of what they're doing in the media and in politics and so on and so forth. You got to go tell everybody to get this book. If you have not sent one to your congressman, order it, send it. If you haven't sent one to your senator, order it and send it. The president should have one of these arriving every single day in the White House. Do it. It's your job. You're the CQRF. I come here, I do this show every night, even when I'm sick as a dog. I come here because I care about you, because we're a team. Your job as a team is to go out and sell this book so that we can empower the American people. And we're going to see when that happens, we'll use this book as an experiment, just like we use Twitter as an experiment. You're going to see the force that Americans can have when they unify and come together and do this. I know that sounds like I'm trying to hype the book into that way, but that's the reality, folks. If you come together, anything that you choose. Why do you think God talks about the importance of fellowship, and he talks about how when one or more of you are gathered in his name, he is in their presence? Why do you think that he says that? Because there are power in numbers. Human beings were created like no other creature in the history of creation. And they were created in God's own image. So when they unify on something, you cannot even begin to imagine the power that you alone have. So just imagine what it's like when 2 or more, or 50 or more, or 1,000 of you are unified on a particular thing. Let's use this book as an experiment for that and empower people along the way. Second thing I want to talk about, hashtag not me. I want you guys, hashtag CQRF and hashtag not me. All right? You're not going to be a victim. Hashtag not me. You're going to be aware. Hashtag not me. You're not going to allow nefarious politicians to get one over on you, because you're going to have awareness. Hashtag not me. Forget about the hashtag me too. Look, there's endless amounts of stories of victimization in this world. What we need are more stories of people saying, this is how I became aware, and this is how I stood up against it. That's what you need to start doing. Hashtag not me. And then put this book out there. Lastly, the GoFundMe page. Continue to give to the GoFundMe page. I'm doing an experiment tonight with one of the viewers to see if where they wrote me or where they donated money, I'm going to reply to them on there on GoFundMe to see if they get the reply. And then we're going to go forward with these with me getting your addresses so we can get these books to you if you donated $50 or more. But continue to donate to the GoFundMe page. Remember, I don't get paid for these books until March. So I'm basically doing all this stuff for free until March. That's it. That's all I got. The hashtag is not me. In other words, not me. I'm not going to be a victim anymore. You may have been a victim in the past. I'm not holding you accountable for that. That's the way, that's what happened. Listen, we're all victims in one way or another. We've all had things happen to us at one time or another. But it's from this point forward when you can become aware of that, you can understand how these people work and forward think them and get around them. That's how you become empowered. Let's go to the True Zone, although I just basically did it anyway. Let's do it. All right, I'm going to do the Hollywood the Hollywood eyeglass removal here. I want to talk to you about something for a second. Something very important to me in this country. It's called freedom. But in all seriousness, freedom is something that I talk about a lot on this show. It's something that we enjoy on a daily basis. You have the freedom to watch this, to tune in, to tune out. Although I will tell you, our freedom is restricted on Facebook because they come on and they treat us either as conservatives and they cut the number of people that this show goes out to, or they treat it as a business and they cut the number of people this show goes out to try to get you to pay for more views. Again, the more you share this show, the more you retweet it on Twitter, the more you tell people about it. It's the same as the book, the same as the GoFundMe page, the same as awareness, the same thing as hashtag not me. Freedom that we were born into in this country gives you the opportunity to say, I'm going to be a part of this or I'm not going to be a part of it. It gives you the ability to stand up and say, I don't agree with what this government's doing. It gives you the freedom to stand with other people that say, I don't agree with what this country, what the government is doing. It gives you the freedom to study the Founding Fathers and understand what they fled and compare it to what is happening now. Freedom is not just something that you enjoy, it's also a tool that you can use. It is, like you, powerful in more ways than you can imagine. Because when you are free, you are strong. And when you are strong, you can make the decisions that you want to make. How many of you have ever had money and then not had money? Or not had money and then had it? Or like me, never really had it, but you're working on it. The point is, when you have money, you have the ability to decide, I want to do this, or I want to do this, or I want this thing, or I want that thing. When you have freedom, true freedom, which you do have whether you realize it or not, it doesn't matter if you're in the inner city or if you're in a mansion or if you're working right now as a cop or a nurse or if you're a factory worker that has no excitement in their job whatsoever. You are just as free as the next person. And with that freedom comes strength. So no matter how mundane your life is, no matter how ho-hum your daily ritual is, remember, the ultimate tool that you need to stand against the government, an entire government, the main weapon that you have is called freedom. And you have it in abundance. You just don't know how to use it. Well, I can tell you one thing. I have used it, and I continue to use it nightly. And look at what we've done here in the past 2 years. How many of you didn't know each other a year ago, 6 months ago? How many of you 2 years ago sat in front of Fox News because that was the only outlet you had, and you listened to what they had to say and took it as gospel truth and said, yeah, I'm mad about this or I'm mad about that? I'm here to tell you, the truth won't lie to you, and freedom won't fail you if you get up, stand up, empower yourself, stop being a victim, and start being strong. I'm Jonathan Gillum. My old buddy Rico is right over there, still hanging in there. We'll see you tomorrow on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. This is The Experts. I'm Jonathan Gillum, and the truth has arrived. I'll see you tomorrow. How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it.